Jewel of the Cat Goddess, an Of Eons and Stars story featuring the voice talents of Lothar Tuppen, Pete Lutz, Jerry Eliff, Frank Guglielmelli, and Rand Moritsky. Written and produced by Chauncey Haworth. And now, Jewel of the Cat Goddess, Episode 2, The Cult of Sekhmet.
The story of Eons and Stars is a patchwork, a seeming miscellany that spans the world and beyond. The story can seem overwhelming, with depths of understanding that can be at times paralyzing. It is a hard shell with a secret inside, and one must start with a crack to even begin to understand its contents. As for our paltry crowd at Ultima Verbi, the last refuge of the written word in Arkham, Professor Jonathan Whately is cracking that shell and giving a peek to his attendants.
Like I said, after the ordeal in the temple, it took us several days to see the city of Cairo again. We came striding over the dunes on camelback, early in the morning, watching the sunrise over the Cairene skyline. Ripe with palaces, apartments, smoke and dust. Beauty is relevant. And from where we came, it may have been the most beautiful sight either of us had seen in quite some time. By God, Charles, we did it! And we made it!
Yes, we did, Professor.
We will be famous.
You're already famous, Professor.
Then we shall be more famous, revered in the Valhalla of archaeology, deified in the pantheons of adventurers.
Bathed in the hubris of ego.
Well, yes, there may be a little of that as well, but first, we shall book passage back to Arkham, and then bathe with the Mistress of Prosecco, or whatever spirits or libations we can find in this catbox of a city.
Punnery, rhyme, and thinly veiled racism, Professor? How beneath you.
Jesus, Charles, just because the city is a hot, dusty litter box of a hellhole doesn't mean I'm racist. I don't want to live in an igloo either, but I'm sure the company is nice.
It is rather hot and dusty.
Now who's the racist, you Herculean Aryan-looking vessel of entitlement?
Like you were one to discuss entitlement, I'm surprised you haven't choked to death on all those silver spoons.
In our way, we bickered on, enjoying our morning and looking forward to our future convalescence. We booked passage on the fanciest ship we could find, the New Amsterdam luxury liner departing in Safaga, and would leave Cairo that evening by train. This gave us a few hours, so we found the first bar we could find. The Egyptians called it a cafeteria, and started the wait off right with several strong glasses of bouza, an Egyptian beer made from bread and grain, a meal in a bottle that could fill a starving gut, or at least temporarily cauterize it. Lord Charles, I have never been so terrified for so long in all my life. Getting out of the temple complex was just the start, and to be followed by thinking we were going to die in the desert without a guide?
Yes, well, I think I would rather take my chances alone on a camel than with that guide.
Yes, I guess you're right.
Trust in Allah, but tie up your camel.
What's that?
It's a saying around here. It means have faith, but also take prudent action.
Good advice.
What do you suppose that jewel is worth, Professor?
I assume it is the true definition of priceless, or at least valuable enough that I would rather not be sitting in a shady cafe in Cairo holding it in my pocket for hours to wait till our departure.
As much as I love running around playing adventurer, I will appreciate getting back to tea and newspapers for a while. The train ride will do us some good.
Agreed.
Shots of bourbon for me and the boys, and a round for all my friends.
In the middle of our much-needed relaxation, a group of Americans entered the bar, complete with cowboy hats and boots, and these fellas were ready to drink. Charles and I continued our conversation, but it wasn't long until this new group of Americans noticed our akin accents, and the group's leader struck up a conversation with us.
Other Americans out here. You mind if I sit with you?
Of course not. Glad to meet a fellow countryman so far from home. What's your name?
Name's Tucker. And you two?
I'm Professor Jonathan Whately, and this is my partner, Charles Charters.
What brings y'all to the Gift of the Nile?
An educational visit, mostly.
Ah, scholars. I knew there had to be some good reason to come to this hot-ass sand trap.
And what brings you and your company to the east?
Well, we're a band from Mecca, California. The band's called Mecca, California, too. and we've come to the cradle of civilization to bring to them our special brand of country music.
Seems like an odd place to sell your particular brand of Americana.
Well, yeah, baby. Given all the problems between the U.S. and this part of the world, we figured we could show them that the U.S. is more than a kick-ass military. We also have some kick-ass tunes. I mean, we're called Mecca, California, after all.
While I find the notion somewhat noble, it does seem a little dangerous.
Whoa, boy, you ain't kidding. There was a moment or two when, playing in Saudi Arabia, people started to look a little angry. But all in all, it's been good times for the most part.
Do you have anything I may have heard?
Yeah, our song, When I'm Missing Home, I Turn to Mecca, is working its way up the charts back home.
And you played that song in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, sir. It's our closer.
Well, let me buy you a drink and we can toast to the luck of the vacuous.
You're a lucky man, Mr. Tucker.
Well, I have to admit, our guitarist is flipping the bill. His dad's from that old rock band, Ginung, some medley sort of classic rock thing. But he gave us carte blanche for the tour. So here we are. But our tour is finally over and we're starting the trip home to Mecca tonight. We catch the Red Sea Riviera Express to Safaga, where we board the New Amsterdam and head back to the States.
What a coincidence. That's our itinerary as well.
Well, ain't that fate? It'll be nice to have some Yanks to dream about home with.
And so the day was wasted away, sweating in the Kyrene bar and drinking more than we probably should have. After getting our fill with the band, and with night approaching, we decided to walk to the train station and work off some of the food and drink. It was pleasant as the sun started to go down over Cairo, but I couldn't help feeling that something was wrong. You know, Charles, this isn't my first time in Egypt.
I had imagined it wasn't, Professor.
I came here as a child, with my father.
In search of the jewel?
No, on that adventure it was in search of already discovered Egyptian artifacts. My father was much more a scholar than an adventurer, but we all still knew the roles we had to play to live up to the Whately name. The adventure never ended, passed down from one generation to the next. One generation reading the books, the next following the path, back and forth for generations. The problem is that both are easy fascinations to lose yourself in. My father was lost in books and relics, in the finite details. He was not so good at the larger picture or taking in the local scenery. For safety purposes, I was forced into becoming good at looking up and taking in the world as my father was looking down, taking in the minutiae.
Well, that explains a lot. You are good at it.
I'm glad you think so, Charles.
Why is that, Professor?
Because I believe that we're being followed right now. No, don't look. Just keep your head on our course and continue talking with me.
Of course, sir. Should we duck in an alley?
Not yet. We must wait till we get to one where there is traffic, so as not to get stuck in a dead end. This damn city is not exactly planned as we would expect.
Right.
Not this alley, but the next, we're going to start running to the left, following the cart traffic.
Okay.
Hold. Hold. Ready?
Yes, Professor.
Now! As we ran, behind us there was a commotion of camels and falling baskets. As I turned, I saw a group of 3 men, all in black, swords unsheathed, coming after us. We darted right down another main thoroughfare as Charles slapped a camel with its rigging, sending it back towards our pursuers. Rounding another corner, we came to a halt. In front of us stood 5 more men in black cloaks, armed with khopesh, a curved Egyptian sickle sword. The leader of the group yelled to us from across the square.
You must return the eye. If you do, you will not be harmed.
He's lying.
I know he's lying. Why must I return it?
The eye holds the balance. You must return it.
We are not thieves. We have no intention of keeping it for ourselves. It is for the world to learn from.
Such arrogance. You will pay for your offense.
The man and his cohorts charge, swords raised. But you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Charles pulled his pistols from his holsters and laid waste to the advancing men as the gathered crowd scattered in fear. We ran faster than I thought possible, through the streets of Cairo, a band of cat jewelry cultists on our tails. Cutting through a bathhouse, we made our way toward the train station, through the winding, dusty streets, attempting to lose ourselves in the crowd. There have been many times in my life that being a white man has been of some advantage to me. Running from unquestioning cat goddess loyalists through a sea of dark-skinned people parting way for panicking Westerners was most certainly not one of them. The bread trail we left was more of a conspicuous track, leading our hunters right to us. In the distance, we could hear the howl of steam engines, so we ran. The cultists had learned their lessons about bringing knives to a gunfight as bullets went whizzing by us, some striking locals, which caused all the more open-spread panic in the streets.
There, that train. That's ours, Professor. Will you make it?
I will! I yelled, fasting after my companion and protector. The loud racket and vibration of our boots on the wooden landing helped to part the remaining crowd on the boarding platform. With a final leap, we made it to the doors of the departing train in time to see our pursuants fall behind. With a whistle of the boiler, we were safe again, traveling on the Red Sea Riviera Express.
Oh, Professor, could it really be that easy? You played so well to these fools who live vicariously through your stories and aspire to acquire a signature on the inside flap of your little book. You're old, but still spry enough of mind to know it wasn't easy then and it still isn't easy now. So tell them. Tell them of the train, of the warning, of the beast, and of the swarm. Don't leave them waiting, Professor. They want to hear more. But for that, you'll have to return for the next episode of Jewel of the Cat Goddess, as the Professor and Charles learn their fate from the Diva of Divination.